Pope Stephen VI. Infamous for the Cadaver Synod, in an unprecedented and gory act, Pope Stephen VI ordered the exhumation of his predecessor, Pope Formosus, who has been dead for 7 months, to face a court trial. Formosus's decayed corpse was dressed in papal robes, placed on a throne, and accused of violating canon law, perjury, and unorthodox rise to the papacy. Unfortunately, the defendant, still dead, was found guilty. The corpse was desecrated, stripped of its vestments. 3 fingers, used for blessings, were cut off, and the body was thrown into the Tiber River. According to some accounts, the body was later recovered by a monk and reburied in secret. This bizarre trial was fueled by political rivalry and the need to appease powerful factions opposed to Formosus. So what happened to Stephen VI after all was said and done? He faced backlash, was imprisoned later that year, and strangled to death in his cell.
Yikes.
Pope John XII. Becoming pope at just 18, John XII treated the Vatican as his personal playground, indulging in rampant immorality. He was accused of incest, simony, gambling, and even invoking pagan gods.
Zeus!
But you might ask, how was he elected? He was related to the Counts of Tusculum, a powerful Roman family which had dominated papal politics for over half a century. They created and perfected the political formula of noble papacy, wherein the pope was arranged to be elected only from the ranks of the Roman nobles. On a side note, their reign brought about a period called pornocracy, or the rule of the harlots, where powerful female courtesans of the family also influenced papal history.
Sensational.
His papacy ended violently when he was reportedly killed during an adulterous affair, either by the woman's husband or in a jealous confrontation. His short, chaotic reign became a cautionary tale of the dangers of unchecked power. Benedict IX was born Theophylactus of Tusculum around 1012 into one of the most powerful and corrupt aristocratic families in Rome. Yes, the same family that Pope John XII came from. His father, Alberic III, Count of Tusculum, essentially bought his son's election as pope in 1032. At the time, Benedict was reportedly only 20 years old, making him one of the youngest popes in history. His election wasn't based on piety or theological expertise, but on raw political power and wealth. From the start, Benedict VIII's papacy was plagued by scandal. He treated the papal office as a means to further his personal desires rather than a sacred duty. Chroniclers of the time, like St. Peter Damian and Cardinal Beno, accused him of simony, violence, and even hosting orgies within the Vatican walls. His disregard for morality and church discipline caused outrage among both clergy and laity. In 1044, a revolt in Rome forced Benedict VIII to flee the city, effectively ending his first reign. But this wasn't the end of his papal career. He returned the following year, backed by his family's military might, and reclaimed the papacy. Here's where the story takes an even stranger turn. In 1045, Benedict reportedly sold the papal throne to his godfather, John Gratian, who became Pope Gregory VI.
I'll be damned.
The reason? To fund his lifestyle, which included extravagant parties and numerous relationships. This shocking transaction epitomized the corruption of the era and further tarnished the church's reputation. But Benedict wasn't done yet. After Gregory VI stepped down under pressure from Emperor Henry III in 1046, Benedict made another bid for the papacy.
Another one.
His third reign was short-lived, ending in 1048 when he was finally excommunicated. By this point, the church was in desperate need of reform, leading to the eventual rise of the Gregorian reforms. Pope Alexander VI, born Rodrigo Borgia in 1431 in Spain, Alexander's rise to the papacy is one of the most infamous in history. A member of the powerful and ambitious Borgia family, Rodrigo used his charisma, political savvy, and you guess it, massive wealth to climb the ranks of the Catholic Church. By 1492, he secured the papal throne through blatant simony, outbidding his rivals in one of the most corrupt conclaves ever recorded. Alexander's papacy epitomized nepotism and moral decadence. Unlike many of his predecessors, he openly acknowledged his illegitimate children, whom he shamelessly used as pawns in his quest for political dominance.
There's always a catch.
He granted them noble titles, advantageous marriages, and lucrative positions within the church, solidifying the Borgia family's influence across Italy and beyond. His reign was marred by scandalous rumors of orgies held in the Vatican, including the infamous Banquet of Chestnuts, where courtesans allegedly entertained high-ranking officials. Tales of poisonings and assassinations surrounded Alexander VI and his inner circle, fueling speculation that the Borgias eliminated enemies and even allies to secure their power. Politically, Alexander VI navigated the treacherous waters of Renaissance Italy with a mix of cunning diplomacy and ruthless opportunism. He forged and betrayed alliances with powerful families as well as foreign powers such as France and Spain. His decisions often prioritized the Borgia family's interests over the Church's spiritual mission, further tarnishing the papacy's reputation during an already volatile period. Despite his infamy, Alexander VI was also a patron of the arts and played a role in the cultural flourishing of the Renaissance. He commissioned grand architectural projects and supported artists like Pinturicchio, whose frescoes adorned the Vatican. However, his legacy remains overwhelmingly defined by corruption, scandal, and the moral decay of the Church. Leo X. Born Giovanni de' Medici, Leo X's papacy displayed the extravagance of the Renaissance Church. Known for his lavish spending, he depleted church finances to fund grand artistic projects like St. Peter's Basilica and patronized artists such as Raphael and Michelangelo. To raise funds, Leo authorized the controversial sale of indulgences certificates that promised to reduce time in purgatory for the buyer or their loved ones. While not a new practice, indulgence sales under Leo's papacy became a blatant financial scheme, deeply resented by many faithful Christians. The most infamous campaign was led by Johann Tetzel in Germany, whose aggressive marketing tactics drew widespread criticism. This outraged many and prompted Martin Luther to publish his 95 Theses in 1517. The eventual excommunication of Luther in 1521 only solidified the split within Christianity. This act ignited the Protestant Reformation, a movement that forever changed Christianity. Sixtus IV. Sixtus IV's papacy was marked by nepotism and political scheming. He appointed numerous relatives to powerful church positions, prioritizing family loyalty over merit. His alleged involvement in the Pazzi conspiracy, a failed plot to assassinate Lorenzo de' Medici, revealed his willingness to engage in secular intrigue to protect papal interests. Despite these scandals, Sixtus IV made lasting contributions to Renaissance art, commissioning the Sistine Chapel and establishing the Vatican archives. However, his tolerance of corruption and simony selling of church offices deepened the Church's moral decline.
Obviously.
If only St. Peter was alive till that time. God knows how many letters he will be writing. Urban VI, elected in 1378, quickly became infamous for his harsh and authoritarian leadership. His unyielding demeanor drove away many of the cardinals who had initially supported him, driving a deep wedge within the Church. His unpredictable and violent tendencies, including alleged acts of torture against those who opposed him, only deepened the rift.
Of course!
This led to the Great Western Schism, a period of intense division where rival popes, supported by different factions across Europe, claimed legitimacy. The schism fractured the unity of the Catholic Church for nearly 40 years, with devastating political and spiritual consequences. Paul IV, one of the most controversial popes of the Counter-Reformation era, is remembered for his notably harsh policies. In 1555, he issued the papal bull, Cum?
What?
Okay, it's cum nimis absurdum. Back to topic. The decree established the Roman ghetto, confining the Jewish population to a cramped, walled area near the Tiber River. Within this ghetto, Jews faced severe restrictions, including limited economic opportunities, curfews, and forced relocation. He also mandated that Jews wear distinctive clothing, such as yellow hats for men and veils for women, reviving discriminatory practices from the Middle Ages. Beyond his treatment of Jews, Paul IV took an uncompromising stance on intellectual freedom. He introduced the Index Librorum Prohibitorum, Index of Forbidden Books, a list of publications deemed heretical or immoral, which Catholics were forbidden to read. This effort to suppress dissenting ideas and enforce orthodoxy stifled intellectual progress and created an oppressive cultural atmosphere during the Counter-Reformation. IV's policies left a lasting legacy of intolerance and censorship, cementing his reputation as one of the most authoritarian figures in papal history. Boniface VIII. Boniface's assertion of papal supremacy reached its peak with the Unam Sanctum decree in 1302, declaring the Pope's authority over both spiritual and secular rulers. This bold claim brought him into conflict with King Philip IV of France, who opposed papal interference in royal affairs, especially taxation of the clergy. Limits were crossed in 1303 with the outrage of Anagni, where Philip's forces, led by Guillaume de Nogaret and Sciarra Colonna, captured and humiliated Boniface. Though freed shortly after, the ordeal left him physically and mentally broken. He died a month later, marking the decline of papal authority and foreshadowing the papacy's move to Avignon, which further diminished its power. Sergius III. Sergius, another controversial figure in papal history, allegedly secured his position through violent means, ordering the murder of two rivals to claim the papacy, Pope Leo V and anti-Pope Christopher, during a period of intense factionalism within the Church. Quick side note, an anti-pope is a person who claims to be the pope in opposition to the pope recognized by the Catholic Church.
Okay.
Sergius III's papacy was deeply entwined with the powerful Roman noblewoman Marozia, a member of the Theophylact family. Their alleged affair produced a son, who would later become pope as John XI, solidifying the family's grip on papal power. His period was characterized by corruption, moral depravity, and the dominance of Roman aristocratic families over the papacy. Despite his controversial rule, Sergius III restored the Lateran Basilica, leaving a tiny,
It's very thin.
very tiny good amid an otherwise infamous papacy. Side note, he was also anti-Formosus supporter.
Man! What did he do to make them niggas that mad?
If you liked the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Till next time.